And welcome back to another video. Today I want to go over yet another faction as part of the how-to series. This time it's going to be the Geonosian faction, and it might be the last for a little while because I'm starting to run into factions that I don't have very well geared. Even my geos are stretched at this point, really, as you can see. Yeah, so it just makes them makes it harder for me to like recommend stat targets and all that when I don't have my characters relicked to a point where most people would. So that's why I think I may put a little break on this. I should be finishing up my Kylo gearing up and all that soon. So once I finish that, I will probably get to my other teams that need work, and once they are relicked, I will be able to make videos for these again. But as things stand right now, I think the Geonosians might be the last for a little while. But I mean, that's better than nothing, right? So let's just get into this. And well, the Geonosian faction is a pretty simple one, so I'm thinking this video will probably be a little bit shorter than the rest, especially since I won't have like stat targets. It's more going to be like kind of more vague recommendations, if you could say. So, I mean, take it as you want. I'm just going to start with the most important character for this team, the Geonosian Brood Alpha. He's basically what makes this team work. And there is two things that you would usually want to mod him for, and that is speed and health. Everything else doesn't really matter besides those two. You can mod him for a little bit of protection, but there is a reason I prefer health, even though mine is actually modded for protection, and that is not because I am dumb. There is a reason for it, to which I will get to a little later. So the reason you want to mod for speed is because, well, he is naturally pretty fast, and I believe he's the fastest base speed on your Geonosian team. So you want the Geos going out as fast as possible, and he is the one who is going to make that possible for you. So having your Geonosian Brood Alpha as fast as possible is going to be very important. I would probably recommend somewhere around plus 100, 110, 120 speed if you can get up there. That's going to put him somewhere between 260 and 280 at gear 13, which is, I think, a good benchmark for his speed. Now, the reason I would recommend modding for health over protection is because of this guy. Not everyone is aware, but Geonosian Brutes stats don't exactly all copy the stats of the Brute. What I mean by that is that, of course, the summon unit thing says that it scales with the summoner's stats, and the summoner being the Brute Alpha. However, there is a little like inconsistency, you could say, with this process, in that the Brute's protection does not actually scale according to the Brood's. These two words sound very similar, and I'm sorry if you get mixed up, but I'll call him GBA. I'll call him GB, that's going to be better. So the Brute's protection does not scale according to GBA's protection. the Brute's protection has a max pool, and I believe it is 36k if I am not mistaken, but it's somewhere very low for a tank. So the reason you would want to mod the Brute Alpha for health is that, well, the health is going to scale for the Brute. So if you mod your GBA for health, your Brute is going to be tankier. But if you mod GBA for protection, the Brute is not going to be any tankier because his protection is just fixed and capped at what I believe is 36,000. So that's the reasoning behind the health. Now, why do I have mine modded for protection still? Well, the reason is that mine is gear 12. And at gear 12, the amount of health that you can get, even with like all 6E health primaries, it's not that amazing. So for that reason, I want this guy to still like live as long as he can, and protection can bring me a little bit more survivability at gear 12. At gear 13, it's definitely better to mod for health. Next, we have the Spy, which is basically the damage of this team with his Silent Strike. This guy does not need speed at all because of his unique. Whenever any Geonosian ally is inflicting a debuff during their turn, which actually happens a lot, because 3 out of 5 of the Geonosians apply debuffs on their basic, and the other 2 apply debuffs on special. So it's going to happen quite a lot. And 35% turn meter means that every 3 turns, basically, your Spy is getting a turn. So you want to mod this guy for maximum offense and crit damage. So you can see I have a crit damage set here, and I don't even have a secondary set. I guess if you want, you can put a crit chance set, try to help his crits a bit more. I never run into problems with him not critting, so I don't think that's very necessary, but I mean, why not? If you can, you want to do it, you can. But basically, yeah, it should be a crit damage set, crit damage triangle as well. I think mine is offense because I am terrible and I don't have good mods, but this should also be a crit damage triangle, and this arrow should be offense. You can see it has like 3 speed. Speed does not matter. Mine is 180. And of course the cross should also be offense. Spy's mods are very like straightforward. You just want to get as much damage out of him as possible. Unfortunately, as I said, I can't give like stat targets for this guy because he is gear 12, so I don't want to like try and give you a random number and that number not be achievable or either be too low. Next we have Sunfac, which is again kind of a weird character. His only use in most matches is the fact that his basic dispels buffs. Besides that, he is usually going to be pretty slow, and he has no way of gaining turn meter, unlike Spy, so he's going to be mostly worthless besides his basic, and his basic is just working when he's called to assist. But being a tank, and if he ever does get that one turn, you can mod him for a lot of survivability, a lot of protection. It would help with those. You can also put a little bit of potency on him, because if you ever get to use this special here, the stagger and the blind and the daze are actually pretty useful, especially in PvP, and also especially in that Acclaim mission, even though I have never beat it before because my Geonosians are trash. But yeah, it's a pretty useful ability. Just a shame that the character is just so goddamn slow that you can't actually use it. His base speed in Gear 12 is 109. That is extremely slow. It doesn't help that I only have 50 speed on him. I could probably try and give him more because I have a protection arrow on him right now. Like you could put speed there if you want to maybe have him take more of a part in the battle. That one's up to you. If you have better speed secondaries than me, then of course definitely try and get those on. I have tenacity here, that's not really useful. You can do protection or health, that's going to be better for you. But yeah, like protection or health, probably protection on these three, and either protection or speed here, depending on whatever you like. Next, we have Poggle, I believe. Come on, game load. I hate this game. Okay, yes. Yay. I love this game now. Yeah, so for Poggle, what you want to mod again, just like for GBA, is speed. Basically, the reasoning behind this is that Poggle and GBA have your two cleanses, and cleanses, in my opinion, are an ability that you want to have around as much as possible, and the fact that those characters are fast, well, it's going to make it so you can have the use of them be ready, like you can have the ability be ready quicker, since the character is going to be taking more turns. Now, as the offset, I like potency because ability blocks are pretty nice. It's more useful in PvE than it is in PvP, but it is still pretty useful in PvP situations. As you can see, my mods are actually not that great. 231 is, I believe, like around, what, plus 80, plus 90 maybe? Yeah, plus 87. You can definitely do better than that. It's just that my geos not being super well geared, they weren't a very high priority for me to mod. But yeah, so speed and potency, as fast as you can get them. Probably have them a little bit slower than the Brute Alpha. I just prefer having the Brute Alpha go first, and it's also going to be easier to do that since he has, I believe, a bit of a faster base speed. I could be wrong on that, but it's whatever. And last but not least, we have the Soldier. I've seen a few variations in the way that people mod him. A lot of people try to go for offense on him, but in my opinion, you should only be focusing on crit chance on this guy. Why? Because he gains a 25% turn meter every time he crits. And with the Geonosian Brute Alpha making it that everyone assists every time anyone does anything, well, that means that basically every 4 turns, this guy could go. And, well, the more that your team goes, the better it's going to be. So you want to shoot around 85% crit chance. Of course, the more relics that you get, the easier that is going to be. So once you do start getting relics to a point that you are easily going over that 85% crit chance mark, you can maybe try and shift your mods a little bit towards the offense, because he still does hit decently hard, nowhere near as hard as Spy does, but it's still like okay damage. So you can, at that moment, try to shift a little bit towards offense. Why do I say 85%? It's again because of the unique, because his unique gives everyone on the Geonosian team plus 15% crit chance. So 85% is what you need to get him at 100%. Speed is like nice on him, but crit chance should definitely be your number 1 priority. Number 2, probably offense, and speed, I would say number 3. So as you can see right now, I have triple crit chance sets, and I'm only at 76%. So I'm still 10% off, even with a crit chance triangle here. That's what Gear 12 is going to do for you. Once you get him Gear 13 and like Relic 3, Relic 4, that's going to be a very easy benchmark to achieve, and you can maybe move away from things like a crit chance triangle and put like offense or crit damage here instead. But yeah, so that does it pretty much for the modding part of the video. I just want to quickly touch on Geonosian counters and teams that these guys can also beat. For their counters, well, the one that most people use and is very commonly known as the Triumvirate. The Trail lead just absolutely destroys these guys. One thing that makes this counter very efficient is having a very fast Gear 13 Scion with relics and a lot of health. Why? Because if Scion goes before the Geonosian teams, he can basically shut them down. His pain makes them hit a lot less hard on him, and he is also going to protect Nihilus and Treya, and you can even remove Nihilus from this lineup if you have your Treya and Scion modded properly. So just look out for those when you're like scouting your opponent or whatever. It could maybe give you a hint as to maybe not put your Geos on defense. Another good counter for Geonosians, and it's one that I see a lot of people don't like to use as much, and it is Rebels. Now, Rebels with are usually going to need 3PO against the higher end teams, and you definitely need relics on these guys. You need damage, because if you can't kill the Brute Alpha in the opening like 10 to 20 seconds, you're done for, because they are going to get so many attacks in that you're just rip. So you need 3PO for the extra damage on explosives, and you definitely need relics on these, but it's still a counter that's like usable and against a lot of other teams. So I mean, I guess in case if you're in a pinch and you don't have anything else, it works, but usually it's not a go-to counter. Another two counters for Geonosians are the Jedi and the Galactic Republic. With the Galactic Republic, it's basically just Kenobi tanking everything and until you can slowly kill them. When you have Jedi Anakin in there, it's going to make it a lot easier, because he has a massive AoE, and Geonosians do not like AoEs. With Jedi, it's a bit more complicated, because again, you need to have enough damage. Jedi are kind of similar to CLS actually. They're just a little better because they have the broken man that can save your ass every time that you are in a pickle. Yes, I am talking about Jolie Bindo. Basically, the whole Jedi team could die, and Jolie Bindo could be living, and he would just res them, and you could turn the battle around. With Rebels, you can't do that. But you still need a good amount of damage. You can use the classic Jedi team with JKR, Bastila, Jolie, Grandmaster Yoda, and Hermit Yoda, and basically your goal is that you mark the Brood Alpha straight off the bat, and you use all your assist abilities on Grandmaster Yoda to kill the Brood Alpha. If you can't kill the Brood Alpha with all your assists, it's probably not going to go well. That's the reason you will probably want a Relic Grandmaster Yoda at the very minimum. I would also probably recommend a Relic Jolie, just in case the battle does go south. Maybe he can save your ass. But that's pretty much the thing, and I want to touch on one last counter for the Geonosians, which is the Night Sister faction. With Mother Talzin's leadership and a pretty tanky Daka with the Zeta, you can actually beat Geonosians very easily. You just have to make sure you don't use the plague before the Brute Alpha does his heal, or else it's just going to go to waste. But between the plague, the stuns that you get from Asajj, Daka, and Spirit, it's pretty easy to keep their team under control and wear them down little by little. In this counter, Asajj's AoE is a great tool to wear them down because their AI is just absolutely stupid and it likes to focus zombie for some reason and just keep killing her over and over, which is going to feed offense to Asajj. And again, what did we say that Geonosians do not like? It is high damage AoEs. And that's what Asajj is going to do, which is going to kill those guys after maybe like 2 or 3 charge-up AoEs. So that's going to do it for the Geonosian counters. Now, for what these guys can beat, well, they can actually beat Night Sisters. It's kind of a back and forth. Both teams can beat each other. If they are low relic, I would probably not recommend trying it. And by low relic, I actually mean year 12. If they are year 13, they should be fine. Basically, it's just timing out your hits with Spy. And one thing that's good about the Geonosians against Night Sisters is that with that Sunfact Dispel, they're never really going to get stuck behind the zombie taunt, which allows them to go for whoever they want. Another team that you could maybe use your Geonosians against is, well, I'm just going to put 2 teams here together. It's going to be the Bounty Hunters with Bosker Django leads is probably going to work a lot better against Bosk lead because Django stops turn meter gains and it can actually go south for you. You can still win, but it's much better to use it against the Bosk team. And they can also beat first order teams, even like all the pimped out first order teams like mine. They can beat it, and it's especially good against the Huxley teams. It's very easy to beat the Huxley first order teams with Geonosians because they really don't have a lot of regen, and Geonosians are just going to go to town on them. And I'm just looking to see here if there's any other big faction they can beat. They can beat Rebels, but again, it's kind of dicey depending on your gear level and theirs. If you have a very high relic Geonosian team, you can probably take out a decent Rebel team because, again, the AI is stupid. But it's not a matchup that I would recommend very highly. So that's going to do it for this video. So yeah, as I said, this is probably going to be the last of the how-to series for a little while. I will still be trying to make other videos. I might do a few videos with Supreme Leader Kylo when I unlock him in like a few weeks now. So that's something I can do. If there's anything else you would like me to do, let me know and I will consider it. And that's gonna do it for me tonight. Until next time.